Hey, it's Tuesday night, and I should be Brian S. Red telling you that it's the Tuesday night music show, and sometimes we actually talk about music, and if the show even airs, if John lets it. But Brian is sadly not with us tonight, which could very well happen to me in the next few weeks. I've got a lot of travel, a lot of things going on, but I'll keep you all abreast of that. I'm DJ Brannan. I'm going to be your main host tonight, of course. I couldn't do this without the faculties and talents of my ever-ready battery guy, Howie Darkstar. He's here with us tonight. Doesn't matter what the conditions, Howie is prepared to get back online unless it's above ground wiring. Then all bets are off.
All
bets are off. We got a bunch of people with us tonight, so I just want to bring everyone up to speed who's here tonight. Of course, we've got DJ John C. You know John, Monday night show, hanging with Howie. He's been in here with us a few times. He's in the chill room a lot. We've got Buddy. Buddy's coming in. You'll know immediately where Buddy's from by his accent. So I'm going to let that be a surprise to everybody. I don't think anyone has to worry about it. Aaron, he might say a boot. So I've given away what country he's from. Who else we got live with us tonight? Let me see.
DJ Laptop.
DJ Laptop is with us live.
Yeah.
What's that?
Yeah, you could change your name, you know.
Yeah.
There we go. So what I want to talk about tonight, I've had a bunch of events lately, and I don't know what your events are trending, but I'd love to see comments in the chat. One on, well, actually comments, not chat, because we're not live. So, but what I'd love to see is what area of music are you playing the most this year so far? It's already May. We're going into the summer. You know, a lot of us have been doing a lot of work so far since January. What is hitting the hardest for weddings, parties, those kind of things? I'll lay a little foundation. For me, it's 90s. The mid-90s to early 2000 is a on-fire period of music. And I've got 2 weddings this week. Cocktail hour at both weddings is 90s alternative. So think everything from Lit to Death Cab for Cutie to even more recent kind of Camera Obscura to, you know, even Green Day and Offspring. I mean, they're lumping all the stuff that used to be rock and punk and everything else into the alternative because I think it's gained that label. So I want to kind of go around the room. Howie, I'm actually going to start with you. What have you heard this year in the way of requests, or what have people been asking for, or what are you hearing is the buzz period of music that you can plan on having for events moving forward?
Surprisingly, they give me free reign with these community things, and hey, just play what you want. And I said, "See, but what? Give me a hint here." And the same thing, 90s. It used to be 80s and up, but when you figure the people that were listening to the 80s are in their mid 60s now. So, okay, I'm doing a community picnic. It's a younger crowd, you know, they're, like you said, they're going for the, you know, 90s, 2000s, and, you know, general bangers pretty much.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's not unusual to have a younger crowd dancing in the grass for me, even if it's 100 degrees out, because then they'll just run underneath the sprinkler. They don't care, you know?
Sure. Yeah, I did a 21st birthday party Sunday night, this past Sunday. And towards the end of the night, a lot of the guests had left. It was a 5 to 10 party, but they expected that the last hour would be really kind of chill. So about 9:15, the dad came over and he said, "It's really just immediate family. So you can turn off the dance lights. I think we're done dancing." And I said, "Well, you know, what would you like to go?" And I was playing Scrubs by TLC. And he's like, "I really like this vibe." So I challenged myself for the next 45 minutes to stay on that vibe. And I went everywhere from Shanice to Seal to, you know, I'd have to look at the list now. I know I just kept switching gears. Boys to Men, Thank You. And he got really, he came over, he goes, "Man, this is like all this stuff I used to listen to just like you said, Howie. He's like, back when my wife and I were first married and we would go out. Because again, he's probably in his late 50s, which means this was his late 20s period.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't remember who posted it. I'll give a shout out. I think it was Dave Lander posted a graphic the other day that gave the hot hits for different age groups. Like 70 and up, it's this, and 60 and up, it's this, and 50 and 20. And it was really interesting to see what the tracks were. I mean, they were the bangers that we know. But it's interesting, and I know we've discussed this, where I'll tell a client, well, my grandfather's 60 years old. I'm like, really that old? It's like, yeah, he's 60. I'm like, oh. And in my head, I'm like, I know what he was doing in 75 to 80 at the club. I just don't want to break her heart and tell him or tell her. So, it's funny how we're able to do that. John C., I know you've had some club stuff recently. You've had some mobile stuff. What are you getting as far as on the East Coast in Boston? What are people responding to really well so far?
The hot hitting right now is anything with an R&B vibe that falls probably between 95 and 05. That whole pocket of Justin Timberlake and early Jay-Z and Shaggy and all the stuff we were playing back then is coming around full circle. Usually in the R&B pocket, like from 98 BPM to 106. Mm-hmm. So if you can connect the new music and work in the throwbacks, that's a perfect hitting vibe, and that'll open up any area of dancing. Everybody will follow that groove. They will follow you with it. To get into energy, anything over 120 would probably be a 90s pocket also, like you're talking about. I don't know if you remember the record when it came out. It was, I think it was called Pulse. Had like Robin S. and
yes.
all those club bangers of the late 90s, like High Energy and stuff like that.
Right.
Once you get them moving with the R&B stuff, then if you're going to take it up to the higher beat, it's not so much falling into the EDM, but it's more the club classics.
Yeah.
Like Catch Me, I'm Falling, Finally It's Happened to Me, the things of that nature. And even the Miami freestyle, like the Stevie B and Sweet Sensation, Cover Girls, all that stuff is hot right now. Compared to what the new music is, these young ladies whispering into the microphone, it's cute and artsy, but you can't dance to it. Everybody loves the songs, but you can't beat, a solid R&B, Four on the Floor. And then you can tie in with older stuff like, Earth, Wind and Fire and Rick James and Commodores. Mm-hmm. That's where we're at over here anyway, in Boston.
Do you think the older crowd is driving it, or do you think the younger crowd is catching on to better music?
I think the younger crowd may have grown up with it, because that was what I was playing in when I was 95 to 2005 playing in the clubs, and those were current hits, and we were playing those as new releases. And now I think that's about the amount of time it needs to marinate before it comes back again. It's probably 20 years.
Yeah, that seems like the magic window of the 80s hitting really hard in the beginning of the 2000s. But I knew the 90s were hitting with like boy bands and Spice Girls and things like that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But it's really odd this year. John really hit the nail on the head. It's really, for me, Ben, that 95 to 05. And I'm bringing back tracks that are even a little bit older, but seem to fit it, like I'll Be Sure, Night and Day. Even though that's not in that pocket, it's falling in between the cracks of things. And then going to something like Saweetie or even a Jack Harlow track that kind of, is it Sweetie's track? Is it My Type that samples Freak-a-Leak, Petey Pablo?
Yeah, just My Type. That's My Type.
Yeah. So I've done a mix of those two. People kind of like, wait, this is an actual song? I'm like, yeah, it's called Freak-a-Leak. Like we used to play this with, Sean Paul back in the day. Yep. This was no, totally. Buddy, we're all going to know where you're from in just a second. What's hitting in your neck of the woods?
Well, the first two weddings I had, the first one I had was kind of an EDM, kind of like we find on a chill channel on Sirius XM, that 105 to 115 BPM, and kind of like light EDM. The last wedding I did 2 weeks ago was a rock and metal wedding. So they're doing Shine Down, Godsmack, stuff like that. My wedding come up this Sunday is R&B. So the R&B vibe, 90s. The wedding after that, another 90s thing. So I think 90s trend right now is a hot commodity. And knowing your 90s music, as well as knowing some of your late 80s music, because that kind of falls into the 90s, and feels and sounds a lot of the same things. And early 2000s as well, with you got the boy bands like, you know, NSYNC and so forth, so on. I really feel that they play a part of that. But Justin Timberlake, you know, I got a list here. Some of the songs I have to play is like Justin Timberlake.
Was it Rock Your Body or Suit and Tie or
which one was it? Sexy Back. Again, that's Sexy a classic Back. One from Justin.
Yeah.
They Want Low by Flo Rida.
Yeah, that always hits.
Yeah. Can't Hold Us by Macklemore. You know, and that's just, you know, a few of the songs must playlist on this list right here. But that's kind of been typical for the past couple weddings too. So it's one of the things that when I see the must playlist and the songs that people want to have and people requesting, I keep the request sheets and I look through it and I see those 90s trends very heavily. And I kind of noticed that last year started getting more and more 90s stuff.
Right. Yeah, no, it's amazing to me how every one of you guys that I've spoken to off air, this is not isolated. You know, I'm in Southern California, Buddy, Chicago, John, Boston, Aaron, Canada. You know, we're from really all Howie's, Pennsylvania. We're from all over the map, but we're also working in different markets. And it's really been consistent. Aaron, the Great White North, what's hitting up there right now?
Yeah, I got to echo what you guys are saying. Like the 90s is really right now hitting hard. I mean, I threw together a 90s show just doing like early 90s techno dance, Euro dance, and it sold out. It was packed. The room was jumping. They loved it. Yeah, I was playing Snap, Culture Club, 2 Unlimited. You know, I hit the early 90s dance stuff. And then when I transitioned more into like that mid 90s, like Green Day and stuff like that, and a little bit of rock and stuff, hit. And the last 3 weddings I just did, it was, they wanted to hear, mid 90s and then early 2000s country. And I'm like, okay. And then the wedding, I just had a Zoom meeting today with the couple and they said the exact same thing. We want mid 90s, early 90s to like, 2010 stuff in there. And then they sent me the list over and I looked at it. I'm like, oh, half this is country. Well, it would be the equivalent of like the Midwest, right? I live in the Stampede City. So there's a lot of country influence here. And I mean, fair enough, right? And that's kind of the market here. But I was surprised again how much early country was in there. And I'm like, oh, I thought because they're a younger couple, it would be, you know, the new pop country or bro country, you know, the new stuff like Florida Georgia and Luke Bryan. None of that was on the list. It was Garth Brooks, Brooks and Dunn, mid 90s stuff to 2000s. And it was in the rock and the pop. So that 90s stuff is absolutely hitting right now.
Yeah,
and,
I've got
multiple genres.
Oh, absolutely. There's because I'm in an area that does a ton of country. So it's common for me to get a wedding that's like from cocktail to dinner to dancing.
And I'd be surprised to hear that from where you are. Tell you the truth. I don't mean to label where you are, but I do.
No. But like my specific area is in a county that has a lot more horses and farms and things like that. I'm an hour north of San Diego and an hour and a half southeast of LA. So I'm in a kind of valley, even though I'm about 18 miles to the coast. This has just always been like, if somebody comes to me and says, we're from Marietta or Wildomar or Paris or Temecula, there's a really good likelihood that country will get played.
Perfect.
So what I'm hearing now is we want old country. And I'm like, oh, Johnny Cash, Merle Haggard, you know. No, like 80s.
Yep.
Like 80s. So it's funny how even country has fallen back from, you know, the Eric Church and Luke Bryan and, you know,
that's pushing back. Yeah.
It's going backwards.
Yeah, we got Brooks and Dunn. They want Shania Twain. They want that real, well, on XM or Sirius XM, it's prime country. They want that prime country vibe. Like I'm happy to play it because when I was a club DJ, that was current. That was new. This stuff was coming out. I remember the first time I played Rascal Flatts, you know, Praying for Daylight was the day it was released. And that song was huge. And I played it again. Absolutely packed the dance floor. I couldn't believe it, just because I could feel where they were going, and it was that 90s, that late 90s country. They loved it.
Yeah, I've got a CD that I have burned digitally now, and I think it's called Now That's Country, And I remember doing an event probably 4 or 5 years ago, and they said, hey, the president, it was for a bank. They said, hey, the president of the bank's a huge two-step fan. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I put on Brooks and Dunn, Boot, Scoot, and Boogie. Right. And he ran to the dance floor. So I'm like, oh. And I went to the album column, and I'm like, where's my Now That's Country? And it was like, you know, Watermelon Crawl, I Like It, I Love It, like all those like 90s country bangers. And he came up, he's like, man, I haven't heard this stuff in forever. You're amazing. We got to have you back. I'm like, all based on one stupid little CD that I remembered buying. It was a yellow covered Now That's Country.
I remember that.
I probably got it in like 98, 99 or something, just to get me some more country music before, you know, the days of the internet. And boy, it still to this day comes in handy on that, you know. Real quick, I want to go to the, I just want to go to the chat real quick. We've got Mikey. Mike's telling us that he's got a wedding coming up. They want classic rock from the 70s, disco plus requests, and then 30,000 pounds of bananas.
Yeah, I didn't know what that meant either.
It's a band, Howie. Sorry that you're not. I have no idea what that means.
It's pretty easy to lace, you know, 70s rock into disco.
I missed that band. I wasn't in school that day. That band.
No, that memo didn't make it to you.
No.
Yeah, no. Laptop. What do we got? What's going on with events? What are you playing? What are you hearing? What do you got people requesting?
Top 40 mostly.
Okay. Newer. So the new top
80s,
40.
90s sometimes.
Okay.
That's mainly what I play.
Yeah, it's funny. I think if you're not seeing it yet, I think as the season goes on, and it's very, you know, let's be honest, guys and ladies, we can figure this out on paper. You know, I will often ask a couple, hey, do you know who's married the longest? Oh, my parents, they've been married 50 years. I'm like, oh, 50 years. Okay, great. So they get married in 72.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You know, they were 20. Okay, they're 70. Well, 1972, what would they have danced to? And I'll go back and look, what were the big slow tracks of 1972? There's always a formula to figure out, like bride and groom. Hey, when did you guys graduate high school or college? And they give you a year, and you just in your head go, okay, they were 18 for high school or 19 or 17. And for college, they were 20, 21, 22. You have a better sense of that realm of music that's really going to excite them. Now, not only the 90s, but this has really surprised me. And I've got to give Buddy credit on this one. I had this EDM wedding a few weeks ago, and I had mentioned that 2 of my weddings coming up had come to me with Duke Dumont. And in asking for Duke Dumont, they mentioned they wanted tropical house. So much like dark wave, cold wave, you know, early 70s R&B, whatever title you put under a genre of music, whatever you call it, there's obviously more to it. So when they said tropical house, I reached out to some other DJs and I said, hey, tropical house. And Buddy had said, oh, I've been playing Duke Dumont, Ocean Boulevard for a cocktail or dinner?
Yeah, Ocean Boulevard, yep.
And when I reached out to some other DJs, that song came up like from 8 different DJs as a good example of what they were all calling tropical house. Oh, Howie, I'm being told 30,000 pounds of bananas is Harry Chapin. One of the most amazing artists. We lost him way too soon.
Way too soon.
Yeah, very incredibly talented individual. Taxi, obviously Cats in the Cradle, but super nice guy from everything I've ever heard or read. But the tropical house thing has become a thing. So I've started mentioning it in conversation, and I'm really surprised. Even the couples that are not EDM bound are coming back with a positive when I say, you know, maybe some tropical house, you're looking at like 108 to 122, and I named 2 or 3 songs. Oh, we love that stuff. Oh, is that what that's called? Because sadly, with dance music and EDM, it gets labeled. And, you know, I defy DJs sometimes to tell me what's progressive house versus vocal house versus deep house versus tech house. It's dance music. And I understand you can categorize by BPM and vibe, but outside of the 90s, I'd love to go around and see if you're getting any hits for really more prevalent and more prominent tropical house or something like that in your event. So we'll do the same whip around. Howie, is the term tropical house, or are you getting genuine house request music?
Not tropical house, but they've been asking for like a tropical vibe because it's warm out. They want like steel drums. They want a festive type, upbeat type of thing. And I think a lot of that has to do with pop culture, whether it's commercials or movies that they're hearing the 90s tracks from. But yeah, they're not. I actually get confused when these subgenres come along. So I understand where they might not ask for tropical house, but they want that tropical vibe.
Right. And I've gotten that. And it started, and again, it was a conversation I had with Buddy and a couple other people that night about, they came up with this tropical thing, and I said, I'll do some reggae, some steel drum, some island music. Mm-hmm. And they came back to me with like, no, we're really looking for tropical house. And I'm like, tropical house? And I couldn't let on, I didn't get it. So it's like, oh, you want tropical house? Okay. And they said, some Duke Dumont, some this and that. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is not what I expected.
I must admit, I had to look it up.
Well, you know what? But that's the beauty of it. It's a famous story, going on a year ago. I think it'll be a year ago this summer, where I stumbled upon the Darkwave video on YouTube and was just blown away and enamored. And I said, I've never heard this term Darkwave or Cold Wave. And I went to Twitch, I went to Noir Tech. It's like, hey, what is this? Oh, here are some groups. Oh, thanks, man. Went to iTunes, bought like 3 or 4 albums, and just, have since then acquired a lot more music, but did not know what it was. And 90% of the DJs I talked to and said, hey, do you ever play Darkwave? They want to say they know what it is, but they're like, but I think the tropical house term is making it past us and into the community a little more, because clients, at least, so I guess if nothing else, be prepared that when you hear tropical, you come in with both barrels blazing up. You mean tropical reggae steel drum, or are you talking tropical house like this Duke Dumont track or this Drake remix or this Kygo remix? It's that non-offensive dance music sort of thing.
Yeah, I noticed when you did, it was on Twitch, you were doing Darkwave, and I'm like, I know these, but I didn't know that they were called Darkwave now. And I thought to myself, what would go good next would be 9 Inch Nails. And son of a gun if you didn't play 9 Inch Nails next. Yeah. And Lori and I were laughing because we're watching. And
I mean, that's a sign of being a great DJ, where you read we read the crowd, DJs read other DJs. They're looking at, where could this go? What's next in the barrel? Then,
I don't know, when that song was a hit, 9 Inch Nails, it was industrial. Now, it's Darkwave. Okay, I'll go with it.
Well, yeah, or it's now gothy versus industrial.
Yeah.
I mean, when I saw Ministry a few weeks ago, they're with the Melvins and Corrosion of Conformity. Well, Corrosion of Conformity is a straight up rock band. They're almost metalish, punkish. The Melvins, I mean, Nirvana opened for the Melvins a bunch of times in Seattle because they're a Seattle band, and they're kind of more punky, but they're more on the rock punky tip. And then Ministry is straight up industrial. They're, the days of Front 242, and, Al Jorgensen was with Revolting CO, fill in the other 2 letters, S. So, he's coming from that school. I wouldn't call any of what I saw Darkwave, but yet you could certainly play Ministry with Darkwave. You could certainly play some Corrosion tracks. I don't know about the Melvins as much, but anytime the music expands past its label, I always think that's a good thing, because I want to play things differently. I want to be able to play 9 Inch Nails at an event. I want to be able to play.
Yeah. But it is sometimes hard to keep up with the new subgenres. It is difficult sometimes, like as a DJ, or just people in general to keep up with all the new stuff. Like when I met you guys and you're getting into this dark wave stuff, and I'm like, okay, what? And I had to go in and look at them. And the same as Howie, it was like, oh, okay, yeah, I know a few of these songs. I just didn't know that was the category that they were put into, right?
I didn't either.
So I mean, people are going to start making up categories left and right now, and we're going to be like, oh, that song. Oh, yeah. I mean, Corrosion, when I started listening to Corrosion, that was more like in that grunge kind of Seattle 90s, early 90s stuff that I listened to at that time.
It didn't have its own category yet. It just existed within rock.
And it's hard even now. I mean, I'm not dropping a story, but I was really stoked afterwards, that I went on an all access pass through a friend. Most of you, Tony Baraz, he used to be with GC and then Serato. You'd probably know him if you saw him. Really nice guy. And he was house sitting for Al Jorgensen. And through Nick Hahn of Promo Only, I got on a 3-way phone call. And he's like, hey, man, I've got an extra all access if you want to go to the show up in Anaheim. And I was like, done. And afterwards, we went and hung out with Al Jorgensen. And I said, man, I saw Corrosion back in the 90s. They were amazing. Al Jorgensen, and I quote, Corrosion and Conformity is the greatest audience fluffer band on the planet Earth.
They are.
Nobody.
They're awesome.
They came out of the gate. They played for a good 50 minutes. From beginning to end, it was feedback, distorted, loud. Pepper was screaming. It was and they waited. They didn't even do like Albatross. I don't think they didn't even play Albatross. But they waited on any bangers they had towards the end, and they just nailed the audience. And it was one of those things where I'm like, wait, are they goth because they're playing? Are they industrial because they're playing with minute? No. Now, since, you've been doing stuff club-wise, have you gotten Tropical House? Have you gotten new genres thrown to you? Has it made it up there? Okay.
No, like a lot of that stuff I hadn't heard till I started more into like the video stuff and the Twitch and expanding who I am by meeting a lot of you. That I'm getting a lot of the subgenres. I mean, I have heard some of the newer, like, actually, it's its own genre now. It's like the TikTok. We want to hear TikTok this, TikTok, and it's all the stuff that we're finding now. That I honestly don't watch. I mean, but I now have to, and I'm now on TikTok, and I'm now watching this stuff because the songs that they're putting out there, these locally done stuff that's out on TikTok is blowing up.
They even have their own chart.
Yes, they do.
Yeah,
they do. And I found out like 5 weddings ago.
TikTok chart,
and it's stuff that you can only find there.
I did an event in March, and it was a 15-year sobriety party. So the guy celebrating was in his, I think, late 30s.
Awesome.
And his girlfriend, they're from Dallas. His girlfriend set the whole party up. There was maybe 30 people, but she said up front, he and his friends watch TikTok all the time. They're huge on TikTok. They're big TikTok. I need this music from TikTok. And I started sending her tracks, like a list of like, this is what I have. She's like, great, can you get, and she sent me another list of like 30 tracks. And I'm like, I'm not exaggerating, in the 5-hour event, because by the time I got there, I'd found like 50 more. I probably played what was known as a TikTok song every third or fourth song till dancing. And then even with dancing, I played a remix of Astronaut in the Ocean because that was a big TikTok. That's where that track blew up.
Okay, let me ask a question to you guys. Because it's TikTok, okay, they want you to play the TikTok chart. Do you play the whole song or do you just 10 seconds? I'm being facetious.
No, that's a great question because a lot of those songs,
that's legit.
You don't know them unless you know the hook. A quick example, and I mentioned it in the chill room one night. I started playing Pharrell, Clouds Away, about 3 weeks ago because I'd heard it on TikTok 3 or 4 times, and I'm like, this sounds like it sounds like Pharrell, but it more sounds like an old Beach Boys song. And come to find out, it came out from the movie, I think, Despicable Me, which I never saw. Well, the track came out like 9 years ago. Well, guess what? It is got to be in the top 10 of TikTok today. Maybe next week it won't be.
Wow.
But I've learned, and I saw this, our good friend of the Chill Room, Chris Cox, we've all played his music, an amazing DJ.
Mm-hmm.
Chris Cox was asked the question on the show. I think you were there, Howie. I think it was either David Guetta or Cascade. And no, it was David Guetta. David Guetta.
The Wednesday
with promo only thing.
Mm-hmm.
And the Carrie running it said, "Hey Chris, you're doing a bunch of remixes." And he said, "No, labels aren't putting money into remixes like they used to. You know where they're putting it?" And Chris said this. He goes, "They're putting it into TikTok." So they're focused now.
I remember that.
You know, this was going to be kind of my third question. And I think, let me circle back a little bit because we're going to have time to fit it in because I think you'll all enjoy the third thing. First one is, what are you playing as far as 90s? Is that banging? Second is the whole tropical house thing. Buddy, I know that's true for you because you're the one that gave it to me. So I know that you're doing it. Aaron, you're not seeing it as tropical. Howie, you're seeing it a different way. John, are you getting tropical house? Is that coming up on your radar as far as a genre?
It hasn't been used as a genre or a category, but we, with such an extensive EDM library, can always pull smooth tracks from different categories, from psytrance, from GOA, from vocal house, electro house. There's always some that doesn't quite have the hard hitting, dance floor filling. Like you take Dead Mouse and Cascade, your I Remember track.
Right.
The stuff that just has a lot smoother float. It's Ghost and Stuff is another Dead Mouse.
Their new track, Escape, is beautiful for that.
Right. So those, they just, the energy is there, the atmosphere is there, but it's just a little toned down, so you're not making everybody run to the dance floor.
But it's not coming back around as far as like, hey, this might be a good cocktail.
No, not for it specifically being tropical house, unless it's hidden within some of the other categories. I'd have to dig a little deeper and see where Duke Dumont falls in my library as to where it landed to see what it's, because it could even be further subcategorized into something else.
Yeah. And I think it's that dance on a razor's edge where you know what it is and it's your job to school people, but it's also your job to say when someone goes, hey, I want to hear tropical house. And you go, that's actually deep vocal. No.
Yeah, it's up to us. I think it's for organizational purposes that we can put that in the genre tag, so it's fast for us to find when we just type it in. There it is.
Sure.
But it's definitely something I'd have to look at a little further to see if I'm doing it and I don't even know I'm doing it.
Yeah. No, 100%.
What is that? Isn't that Higher Love, that Kygo remix? Is that not in Tropical House?
I would put it there. It's like 104 BPM, but I think I would probably put it there because of the vibe of it. Because the tropical house,
John just said, I think I've been playing it and I didn't realize it. And that song just hit me. I'm like, wait, yeah.
But see, that's the point of it. By the way, for those of you that, and this is older, but I remember a few years back having somebody come to me before there was tropical house and say, hey, you know what I'd love to hear? We'd love to have kind of a chill vibe thing, but sort of a jazzy, housey thing. And thank you, iTunes, as usual, for your immense library of like $5 40-song CDs. This one, I believe, is called Luxury Groove. And it will have the obligatory girl in bikini on the beach on the cover. And from track 1 to track 40, every one of them is playable. Like, not one artist you can name, like no one you know. But as far as dropping it to get a vibe going, I have made my $5 back 100 times on that. So don't skip out on that yet when it comes to that. Ken, are you getting any sort of a vibe where people are coming to you with more of a housey thing, especially in what we're calling tropical house?
Not really.
Might take time.
Yeah, probably.
Might be one of those things.
It's probably a Florida thing.
It could be. Florida's one of those places. And that's really where I always think of it. When you talk about yacht rock, you think, oh, this is like that smooth sailing off the coast of California on a sailboat, drinking wine and Christopher Cross. Okay, I get what it is. Yeah. I think tropical house to me was tropical house. Oh, look, if I'm in South Beach, Miami, it's midday. It's not heavy party yet, but it's a little more vibey. Because, years ago when I would go to South Beach, they'd be playing stuff at 8 in the morning that I'm like, what is this? People are like, oh, dude, it's deep house, man. You got this, really? Because I don't think this is deep house. No, dude, it's deep house. I'm like, Okay, if that's what you're calling it. Synthwave, Lori, is amazing. I love synthwave. Synthwave would be, Lori in our chat has mentioned synthwave. Synthwave to me falls right into darkwave, synthwave, cold wave, EBM, all these different titles that come right down to, think of old school kind of Depeche Mode, Love and Rockets, New Order, that synthy stuff from the 80s. Now add a little bit of a dark turn to it. Add a little bit of a, like, you know, I'm more of an emo kind of guy or girl.
Minor chords, yeah.
Yeah, and then you've kind of got
tempo.
what synthwave, cold wave, dark wave ends up being. My third thing musically, I think you guys are going to enjoy, because I think all of you have something to add to this. And that is simply, here's the question, because it's certainly, and I'll answer it first very quickly, believe it or not. And the question is this: have you looked to, relied upon, or are you presently using TikTok and or Twitch as sources of music and trends and reading crowds for down the road as far as knowledge is concerned? I 100% have used TikTok. I've 100% used Twitch to expand not only my musical taste and library, but also see what other people are doing and what could work for me. The worst thing is a closed mind when it comes to being a DJ. Howie, you've been an ardent supporter of John C. on Twitch. You've supported Buddy. You've certainly supported me. So I think I know half the answer, but I'm going to let you answer it anyway.
And Chris, too. Chris Cox.
Yes, and Chris. So where are you in the way of using or learning from TikTok and or Twitch?
Well, like I mentioned earlier, especially for the summer events coming up, school will be letting out, you know, I'm following the TikTok charts, but what I'm learning is weird stuff like, honest to goodness, not even a month ago, I've played Darkwave and didn't even know it until it got a name.
Yeah,
It's like a puppy. Once you name it, you're going to keep it.
but you see what you see the
One time
expansion.
and it keeps coming back. You know?
Yeah, but you see that expansion where if you get a phone call from somebody that's throwing a club night and they say, yeah, we're looking for a DJ that can do Darkwave, and you go, oh, I love Darkwave. Oh, you do? Who do you really like? And I like this, this, and this. And you think, oh, I heard this Boy Harsher and She Passed Away from Jay said, or John said, or Scrappa said, or whoever said, and you mention that, boom, you're in. You're now hired based solely on the fact that you have expanded your knowledge when it comes to that.
And the other secret is, especially when you guys are up, is Shazam.
Live and die.
You know, and I will honestly, I'll because you can let it go if you double tap it.
Auto Shazam, your best friend.
You know, yeah, and then take a screenshot and, you know, and then wipe it out, screenshots again, and I wind up with, all of a sudden I got a list, which I have to make into a crate, which I then play.
Yep. Now, are you going on TikTok at all, Howie? Have you checked it out?
I actually have, since a few of my friends have gone on. I see, so it's like I don't fully get it.
You know what it is? It's a swipe up. It's the only app that is in social media that has been listed as it makes its end users happier than they were before. Meaning, you go on TikTok or you go on, you know, Twitter, you go on Facebook, you go on Instagram, you go through the obligatory, oh, congratulations, happy birthday, this. With TikTok, depending on your interests, you're getting exposed to a ton of stuff very quickly. And it usually makes people feel a lot of different emotions. From the DJ aspect, I think the best takeaway is that there's new music, or at least, like I said, that Pharrell track, I played it the other night. I had like 5 kids come running out to dance. I didn't know this song 3 weeks ago. And these kids are running out to dance to it. And they're doing kind of really a 2-step, because it's a 2-step track. You know, it's not step. It's like a step 2-track. It's like dun 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 dun. Like, it's great for that. And that's pretty much what they were doing. And I'm like, man, thank you, TikTok, because where else am I going to hear this track? And I think you're going to see down the road TikTok influencing advertisers, because advertisers want the young money. So don't be surprised to see those tracks transcend over and then hit us again. You know, John C., you've been over 1,000 hours on Twitch.
Indeed.
Crushing and killing it. So I know I'm not going to even bother to waste your time.
For the Twitch, I mean, when I used to be around the house, I'd turn on local radio to listen to, you know, the music. But after you've done that, you know, a couple of days, because you want to keep up with the charts and what's current.
Sure.
Now I've got Twitch as an option. I can open that up, just put on anybody's random channel, listen to what they're playing, and see if I find anything new. Find a different genre, different groove, different way of putting songs together. Even if it's only for an hour, at least just to tune in and use that. That's replacing internet radio. That's replacing, you know, Sirius or XM or any of those that you would normally have as your input for music, where you get your new music from, aside from charts, somewhere you can actually hear it. For the TikTok thing, though, I don't have it, but I feel like I do, because it's cross-pollinated everything in such a way that you can't escape it. It shows up on Facebook clips. It shows up on Instagram things I get. It shows up in my Twitter feed. So even though I don't have the app, I feel like I'm still immersed, that it's everywhere.
Yeah,
I don't have it by name, exposed. You know, and it's usually the best of, because it's someone that had posted that forward through another forum, and it's got 6,000 likes already. So I'm kind of seeing the filtered top end of what I think is good from TikTok,
right?
Without actually having to run it as a
side app.
Yeah.
Well, I will tell you this. I've spoken to probably 3 Twitch DJs who are migrating over, because they're, one, finding out that the audience they're exposed to, because of the algorithms of TikTok, is much, much bigger. So where they would be on Twitch and get 100 people watching their set, they're going to TikTok and like looking over at like 8,000. And then they're getting tipped, and they're like, and it's, I won't name names, but it's big name people on Twitch, and they're like, I mean, I'm making money. I'm like, really? Like day one, I was making more than I'm making over there on Twitch. So you may start to see that, but like everything else, will there be a saturation point? And is it okay to just sit back like you're doing and let TikTok come to you? Because, you know, you got onto Astronaut in the Ocean. Its breakout was TikTok. I mean, even the artist is like, this is where I broke. I didn't break on radio. Like, no one was playing me. TikTok blew me up, and then everyone had to play me.
No, well, it used to be YouTube that people would put out original content, and that's how word got around. Now this is just a you know, faster forum. It seems that it's just easier to be discovered, and it seems to get results a lot quicker.
Well, you know, where are you going to go? I talked to a DJ today about music who works with artists, like actual artists from the 80s and 90s, and she tours. And I said, you know, what's their opinion about what goes on today? And she's like, they don't want to even talk about it, because there's just no source of income unless you're on tour, because there is no make a song, get the publishing, get a label, have it go out, get paid every month, get a residual. Those days are long gone. I mean, you and I could come up with a hook tonight, write a 60-second track, throw it onto TikTok. It hits the right way, and we have tens of millions of likes. Now it's up to us to either follow up with something or live in infamy as Astronaut in the Ocean kind of vibe, where it's like, boom.
Well, it's turning the 100,000 likes into $100,000 is the magic of it. It's how do you turn it into money and make it profitable that's worth your time.
Right. Well, right? And I think the big thing for us is that we get to turn it into profit for our own business, because at least when someone runs up and says, hey, this song, and if TikTok's got its own chart, I behoove anyone watching this, go read the chart, at least become familiar with it. So at least if you're getting requests, you're one step ahead of the next DJ in the other room who's like, what's TikTok? Because I've had that discussion. I've had people say to me, I don't need to bother with that. I'm like, well, you know, they said that about the car for the guy with the horse, and he's still out in the field. So I think there's a point where you may not need to download the app, but at least, you know, have a sense if somebody comes running up and says, my daughter's got a song from TikTok. don't look at them and say like, oh, like tic-tac-toe. Like, no, that's not what her daughter's talking about. Buddy, you know, you've got a Twitch channel. You've been a supporter of mine and John's and everyone else's. So Twitch, I know you utilize. Where are you with TikTok? Are you utilizing anything with TikTok? Are you doing stuff?
TikTok, I watch the charts and stuff like that, see what's trending for music wise. I'm not on TikTok, but I do watch from the outside and just make sure I'm aware of what's going on. So I know when, like you said, the preferable person coming up going, hey, you know what? I just saw this song on TikTok. Do you have it? I know I'm aware of those things going on. So like the Pharrell song, when I heard that, I was like, yeah, that's an old one. I remember that. And I've actually have 2 weddings coming up that song right there is instrumental version of it is in the ceremony in one way or another. So it's one of the things that it's a nice
I did not know that song at all. Like it came on my radar and I was like, oh, this must be brand new. And when I went to look it up, it's like Despicable Me. I'm like, oh, that's an older movie. And then I went to YouTube and I'm like, when did he launch the video? And it's like 9 years ago. Well, guess what?
I remember it from the movie.
TikTok is where songs come back to life sometimes. So
it's fun. And I will tell you about Twitch. The one thing like I do watch other DJs during the daytime when I'm here in my office working and stuff like that. And I have it on. There's a girl in Germany I listen to, a couple people in the UK, and sometimes early evening, some guys come on, or on a night that we're not on, not you, Jay, or John, or myself on Twitch spinning. And there was a guy here, a DJ, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he was playing club stuff in the 90s in Chicago, which Chicago has its own vibe for music. And one of the songs he had in there was Cause and Effect, You Think You Know Her. And I'm like, wow, I remember that song. So I had to go to Extended Mix, because I do music videos on Twitch, and get that song, because I'm like, this is a song I remember being very popular back in the 90s, you know, that kind of vibe and stuff like that. And that goes back to the first thing with the music with 90s stuff. But I'm like, I want to make sure I have a diverse library that has that nice, cool tracks like that has that song that people hear and haven't heard in a long time. Like, oh yeah, I remember that. I remember I was doing this, that, and this. So that Twitch area right there also reminds you of things you haven't heard in a while. People spending 80s, 90s, 70s, 60s. There's a girl in there in Great Britain doing 50s and 60s stuff. If my dad was here, my dad would be doing a happy dance, because that's the stuff he grew up on. And it's stuff like that you hear. And I hear these songs, even from the 50s and 60s stuff, and I'm like, wow, I remember my dad playing these songs. So it's a great thing to listen to. Plus, again, it gives you ideas and makes your brain move and think in ways that you probably don't normally do on how you want to establish your library and makes your library evolve.
Right. And I think there's always a constant, I know best and I'm the DJ and I know what to do. But, you know, that 45 minutes the other night was not so much a struggle, but it was I took it as such a challenge when you said, I like this vibe. Well, there's 6 of us in the room and I'm the DJ and I'm playing till 10 o'clock. So I've got 45 minutes to deliver upon one song and now do the famous, what would you play next? And in my head, I'm like, I'm missing tracks, but I'm like, oh, wait, that Boyz II Men Thank You track, that'll totally vibe. He commented on it. The Desiree commented on it. Shanice turned around, smiled at like there's that thing where you want to always be one step ahead, because the reality of this is we can all be kumbaya about being a DJ and all of us hold hands around the campfire, but this is business too. And as such, you need every advantage and edge you can get. So if,
I feel that
if TikTok or Twitch is an edge, then I always feel at least explore what's there to learn.
Mm-hmm. I feel being a DJ, as DJs, all of us as DJs, we want to be different than a program algorithm like, let's say, Spotify or something like that, or even just a cell phone playing music. We want to show people that we're watching the floor, seeing what's going on, see what people are doing, see what we get back from those people, and then play the right stuff, and then touch those people in certain areas in their brain, putting good memories in for that moment, be it a club, be it a wedding, be it a party, be it whatever you're doing, putting those little mind nuggets in there and memory nuggets of, hey, I remember this song, or oh, hey, I've heard this a while, or hey, this is a cool song I just heard on TikTok. Those things like that, those memories in people's heads, I think is a very important thing. That's what separates a really good DJ from someone just playing music or a algorithm doing music.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Between us and a jukebox.
Aaron, you've been supportive on Twitch, so I know you've gone on Twitch. You know what Twitch is. You're there.
Yeah.
Where are you with something like TikTok and Twitch as far as education goes?
Do you want to know? I got into TikTok a couple of years ago, like when it first was coming out and it was starting to break, and I got it. I looked at it when it was first coming out, and I said, this is stupid. I deleted it. I walked away from it. I'm like, I don't get it. This little short clippy thing. Okay, no, it's just too random for me. It's too quick. I don't think it's going to catch on. Well, I was immensely wrong. Big time. Like, big time. And I didn't know about Twitch until I met I did know about Twitch. I heard about it. My teenage boys, they are all on Twitch and they're gaming. I always thought it was for gaming. I didn't know there were some DJs on there.
There weren't until the pandemic, as far as I know. I think we all showed up when everything shut down. I think we all did this on the door.
Came storming in.
I put my gear in the back closet and I put my feet up. I like took it as a holiday. I took the year off and just didn't do anything. And that was a big mistake. Sitting back on your heels was a big mistake because I find myself catching up now. But having Twitch, I'll hit Twitch first. I appreciate what you guys do. I appreciate the content you guys put out. John and Buddy, Jay, it's been great. It's really helped me catch up and get, this is a great song. That's a great song. I'm listening to Dave Audet. I'm listening to Chris Cox. And, I will name drop because I do watch those guys and I do support them as well.
Oh, they're
and
amazing.
I'm sitting there with my phone, yes, on Shazam or on Google Listen. And it finds a song for you, and I'm screenshotting it all. It's like, oh, that's a great tune. Oh, that's a remix of this. That's a remix of that. And then you go into TikTok and you see it there mixed by somebody else, and it's a short clip. It's like, oh, there's another version of that. That's another version of this song, and you're finding stuff that's like, okay, I need to put this in my library. I need to have this, and you're watching your crowd. So if you see a slight lull, drop a TikTok in there. If you see your dance floor just start to dry up a little bit through the middle, hit that. The young kids are going to be like, whoa, where'd this guy come from? And they're going to hit the floor. It's a tool in your toolbox. You need it.
Yeah,
absolutely need it.
And you know what? I'm going to agree with DJ Eric on this too. He's saying TikTok is probably the reason why the younger generation today expanded the music they'll respond to. And I completely agree.
Absolutely.
And I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, it is. I remember YouTube when YouTube was starting to bust out as well, and I wasn't watching it either. And I remember this one song starting to take off, and they're like, "Oh, this is the most played. This is the most." I'm like, "What is it?" And I'm like, I listened to it. I'm like, "Yeah, okay. I haven't really heard that before. Maybe once or twice." I threw it on. I was doing a Filipino Christmas party, and the song had just started to break, and it was called Gangnam Style. And I threw it on, and it absolutely killed.
Yeah.
And then a few months later, it's got 1 billion views, or the most viewed video on YouTube.
Yeah.
And so we need that.
Yeah, we need that learning experience, I think.
We need that diversification, like Buddy was saying. We need to put more into our variety and more into, our shows. And I think finding a way to get it to us is to look into what people are watching, what's really hot right now.
Right.
And TikTok right now is it. TikTok is hot, and we need to pay attention.
Yeah, no, totally. Ken, we're going to close the show out with you on Twitch, TikTok. Where are you on? Are you looking into it? Do you think it's worth looking into? What are you doing with it?
I'm thinking about it.
Okay.
I've been trying to check it out, but it's one of those in my area. I don't know. It's the area. If will it go? Will it not?
Well, I mean, it's got to be something like that. You got to look at things from that perspective of like, hey, this does work, this doesn't work.
Yeah,
so I totally get that, but I think you're going to find, at least from the Twitch standpoint of getting to hear other music and see how other DJs mix it,
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I've certainly learned. I know John has, Howie has, Buddy. So I would certainly recommend it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all for learning different stuff. I mean,
yeah, no, I think you're going to find that, and the TikTok thing, if you're doing any younger events or even stuff that might get super popular.
Yeah, I mean, I'm doing a wedding in June. They want with the watermelon crawl going down the aisle, so that should tell you something.
Well, I know exactly who they are then.
Maybe we can borrow Jay's Yellow Country CD.
Yep, I got. Now that's country. Put it on repeat. Well, I got to thank you guys. Without the BSR here tonight, I think we sailed. We've just hit the hour mark, so I don't want to keep people. I really appreciate everyone responding tonight. I hope you guys got something out of this. It's always about learning and growing and getting better and better and better. So hopefully that's going to be something that we all experience. We try to do the music show every Tuesday night at 10 o'clock Pacific time, or no, Eastern time. Mm-hmm. And I'm at 7 o'clock Pacific time, Midwest and Central times. You figure it out. You know where it is. It's somewhere between those two numbers. So it's like 8 or 9, 9 or 8, something. Outside of that, we will see the BSR next week. Howie, thank you for all your help. John, Buddy, Ken, Aaron, I appreciate it. Everyone in the chat, Lori, Eric, greatly appreciate the support. Mikey, Mike, love you. Everyone else, stay well, stay safe till we see you again. That's it. Peace.